A warm welcome to everyone who is joining us together in our prayer community this evening. Welcome to all the longtime members who support our synagogue. We appreciate and applaud. Welcome to our new family members. We love that you are part of our synagogue and congregation, and we rejoice in you. Welcome to the visitors among us. We feel lucky that you have joined us for these sacred days of prayer and celebration. Welcome to our GLBTQ families, to our single parents, to our seniors, to our interfaith families, to our college students, and to all the dynamic individuals who are with us today. Welcome to Ali Cohen, our fifth-year HUC rabbinic intern, and her mother Eve, who is in town from New Jersey and praying with us this evening. Welcome to Jonathan Stinson, our cantorial soloist. We rejoice in him being here for the fifth year in a row for our high holiday community. And though we'll certainly miss seeing your wife Samantha and your two beautiful twins. Welcome and thank you to Dr. Mark Bailey, our choir director, who has led our community in prayer and song for the last 27 years. Thank you to all of you, our faithful High Holiday choir members, for lifting our worship and your beautiful voices. Welcome to our online community. Though you're not with us in our physical brick and mortar building, you are part of our minyan and prayer community, and we're so glad that you're joining with us today. A special shout out to the people I know who are visiting us online, Cookie Aronoff and my uncle Ralph in New York, my mom in Seattle, my dad in Belgium, and to the 85 other computers who aren't my family members, we welcome you too. If you are tuning in online, we would love to know who you are. So please send us an email through our website so we can say hello. And if you'd like any names read for our Misha Berach prayers, for our healing prayers, let us know that as well. A really special thank you to Bob Zeke and Jim Kastrup and our technology committee for all of your energy to ensure that all of us can benefit from a powerful sound system and streaming community tonight. And to Peggy Ekman, Pam Hudson, John Molander, and Jenny Costello and Julie Solomon, who worked tirelessly to make this place feel a little more like our congregational home. Also, tonight, a special shout out to Robin Miller, who made dinner for my family so that I could be with you tonight, too. So thank you for making that happen. Tonight, we pray together as one community, as one family. Take this moment to greet the people who surround you so that you know the names of our prayer community. And if you don't forget to ask if someone is going to a holiday meal, and if the answer is nowhere, then please invite them. So go ahead, introduce yourself.
Nice to meet you. Stranger. Joel. Sorry about that. I didn't say. You're still at honey. You didn't say. Still at honey.
We turn back to our camera, and we welcome our online community into our sanctuary, you who are streaming from homes and offices and hospitals. Together we say, Shana Tova, Happy New Year. As we begin our service, I emphasize the importance of turning off cell phones. Not only are they distracting to our worship environment, they affect the speed of our streaming team. By turning off your cell phone, we ensure that those at home can stream seamlessly. As we begin our Erev Rosh Hashanah service, we acknowledge that each of us comes to prayer with different needs and different modes of expression. Yet sitting side by side here in this sanctuary, we hear the sounds of one another's praying voices as though they are our own. Every Jew is different, and yet together we realize the oneness of our faith. May this service offer you what you seek, strengthen your connection to your faith, and provide an opportunity of reflection and healing. We continue together on page 11. And I'm going to welcome Margot Strauss up to the candle. Margot is 100 years old, so we have to give a special shout out to her for turning 100 this month. And she will kindle these lights for us to bring in this new year. The first mitzvah in the Torah is let there be light. So we are commanded in everything you do, be a menorah, a bringer of light. Live with honor, act with integrity, do your work with passion, and the radiance of your deeds will live after you. May our ideals burn bright, forever extinguished, and may we live our lives like the flames we kindle, always stretching upward, striving for the good, reaching for you. Go ahead, Marco.
You said the universe is majestic like much, teaching us holiness through sacred obligations, giving us a mixture of shining light on each other and good festival. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'nachnu lanu, v'yimnu lanu, l'ashem Moshe.
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'echianu v'yamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
We continue responsively on page 12. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. This is the season of the soul, a time to rejoice, a time to reflect, a time to return, a time to gather around the table with loved ones and friends, a time for song and silence, for prayer and confession to the open heart, a time to retreat to our sanctuaries within, a time to renew the life and spirit of our community. This is the season of attentiveness, a time to notice what has unfolded and what has not, a time to regret, a time to forgive, a time to remember cherished dreams and high ideals erased by reality. This is the season of hope, like mist rising at sunset, like dew descending at dawn. Our hopes beautify and nourish everything they touch. Our hopes make us partners in creation, pursuers of peace, people who aspire to a world of justice. This is the season of awe. When our eyes behold it, may we feel blessed. When we turn toward each other, let us feel strength. When we see the holy, may we find purpose. May we find courage. May we find love. We continue together on page 15 with Tiku V'Chodesh.
Tiku v'chodesh shofar b'knesel yom chagenu Yikol Yisrael Nishmat Eloheinu Nishmat Eloheinu.
We read silently together through page 19. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Yehi ratzon shenizkeh livrochtecha, Bishnat chameshet alafim shva'im v'sheva, Elohei olam barech otanu ve'el kol be'Yisrael, B'chidush yameinu, B'simcha u'v'shalom, B'nechama u'v'ometz lev, B'chilutz atzamot u'v'ruach etnata, Yehi pri tzvatenu, Mikubal v'ratzui milfanecha, B'fros Hashanah HaChadasha, La'ad modim anachnu lach, Al matanat hachayim. Our God and God of our ancestors, may we know your blessings in the year 5777. Eternal One, bless us in the whole house of Israel with renewed life, happiness and peace, comfort and courage, resilience and strength. May the words of our heart be acceptable to you. In the new year that stretches before us, we are forever grateful for the gift of life. We rise together on page 20 for Baruch Hu, our call to worship. Page 22 at the bottom together. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your great name fills the universe with majestic might. Your word creates twilight and dusk. As your wisdom opens the gates of night, your discernment separates the changing seasons and causes the passage of time. The stars arrayed across the sky reveal your design. You roll out the cycle of darkness and light, shaping day and night. You sweep away day and carry the world into nightfall, setting day apart from nighttime. You are God of all we can perceive, and all that is beyond our perception. Living, eternal God, be our sovereign to the end of time. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, creator of twilight and dusk. We continue on page 26.
Adonai
continue with Ve'ahavta, page 28.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך ובהיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Page 33. You have stayed long enough in this place, God said. Time to go forward. Turn your face to the future. Believe that you can cross this sea and survive. Inside you is a Moses. Within you, Miriam dances unafraid. Lift up your voice and sing a new song.
בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים צאי פנו ואמרו ונאמר גפתה אדוני את יעקב וגלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה גאל ישראל.
Bless our sleep with peace, Adonai, and awaken us to life when we rise. With power sublime, spread over us your shelter of shalom, and through your wisdom restore us, make us whole. Let your name proclaim your presence in our lives. Be our shield. Make us stronger than the enemies we face, illness and war, famine and sorrow, and stronger than the enemies in our hearts, wickedness and sin. Carry us to safety as on wings, for you are the monarch of grace, the sovereign of compassion. You are the one who cares for us and sets us free. Watch over us, we who go forth to life. Watch over us, that we may come home in peace, now until the end of time. Baruch atah Adonai, hapureh sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Together, Blessed One, you spread over us a canopy of peace, a shelter shalom over all Israel, your people, and over Jerusalem.
Adonai,
We continue with the Chatzi Kaddish on page 40.
יתקדש ויתקדש שמי רבה
Amen.
ועלמה דברה חירותה וימליך מלכותה בחייכם ויום אחד וחיי לכל בית ישראל בגלם בזמן קריב וימרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ועלמא יתברך וישתבח וידבר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה נעלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה זמירן בעלמא ויאמרו
Amen. Please rise for the Amidah. Together on page 53. You chose us with love to be messengers of mitzvot, and through us you made known your aspirations. Among all the many peoples, you gave us a pathway to holiness. Among all the great nations, you uplifted us and made yourself our sovereign. And so we seek you and serve you, and celebrate our nearness to your presence. Your great and sacred name has become our calling. We continue at the bottom of page 54. Our God and God of the generations before us, may a memory of us ascend and come before you. May it be heard and seen by you, winning your favor and reaching your awareness, together with the memory of our ancestors, the memory of your sacred city, Jerusalem, and the memory of your people, the family of Israel. May we be remembered for safety, well-being, and favor, for love and compassion, for life and for peace on this day of remembrance. You may be seated. We continue on page 65. After a long illness, I was permitted for the first time to step outdoors, and as I crossed the threshold, sunlight greeted me. So long as I live, I shall never forget that moment. And everywhere in the firmament above me, in the great vault between earth and sky, on the pavements, the buildings, the golden glow of sunlight. It touched me too with friendship, with warmth, with blessing. And I remembered how often I had been indifferent to the sunlight, how often preoccupied with petty and sometimes mean concerns, I had disregarded it. And I said to myself, how precious is the sunlight, but alas, how careless of it we are. Together, source of blessings, may we open our eyes to the radiance around us. May we open our hearts with gratitude and our souls with appreciation. At this time in our service, our thoughts and our prayers reach out to those in our community who are in need of healing. As a temple community, we pray for Gary Algeyer, Cookie Aronoff, Judy Avner, Mira Barner, Ruth Bergman, Sheila Boniface, Eve Cohen, Ethan Kadish, Yael Kraus, Lee Krennick, Mel Hudson, Ira Lerner, Shirley Metlin, Sophie Mitnick, Iris Riggs, David Rose, Betty Roth, Pearl Roth, Daniel Rothschild, Bob Rubin, Iris Sham, Kathy Simon, Mahaya Stoneman, Ralph Strauss, Sherman Weinstein, Yehuda Ben Acharon, Chaim ben Yaakov Venechama. If you would like to add a name for our healing prayer this evening, I ask you to please turn to a neighbor beside you and tell them who you are praying for this evening. Go ahead. In the coming days, it is my hope that you will check back in with the neighbor beside you, strengthening the bonds of our community. For those we name with our lips and those we name silently in our hearts, we pray for a refuah shlema, the healing that comes from the wholeness of body, mind, and soul. Our Misha Berach prayer can be found on page 245. We continue with Misha Berach. We take some time for silent prayer, whether with the words on page 68 and 69 or the words of our hearts.
sonnim refri vegion ibil fanefa
I wanted a perfect ending, so I sat down to write the book, with the ending in place before there even was an ending. Now I've learned the hard way that some poems don't rhyme, and some stories don't have a clear beginning, middle, and end. Like my life, this book has ambiguity. Like my life, this book is about not knowing, having to change, taking the moment and making the best of it, without knowing what's going to happen next. This poem, written by Jewish actress and comedian Gilda Radner, is entitled The Book of Life, Uncertainty. At first thought, I considered how so much of our life is lived in uncertainty, how the majority of our time is spent in thinking, in wondering, in questioning, and in trying to make it through transitions. But then I realized that the truth is, all of life is uncertain. Our book of life is lived in uncertainty. Each second we are here is a liminal moment we so often take for granted. As an old Yiddish proverb goes, man plans and God laughs. And as we join here this evening, preparing ourselves to take on a new year, we can only imagine what will be written in the next chapter of our book of life. We can only imagine what's going to happen next. Allow me to share with you a chapter from my own book of life. This past April, a word entered into my life that I hoped and prayed I would never have to hear. It's a word that sadly comes into almost every single person's life, whether directly or indirectly. It's a word I knew deep within that would be unavoidable my whole life, no matter how hard I tried. That word was and is cancer. Last spring, my mother was diagnosed with cancer, and the fear that came with it made me rethink the significance of every moment together and every word exchanged. The fear that cancer brought stuck to my gut and formed a lump in my throat that I knew would not disappear unless this cancer disappeared from our lives. It just took one day, one diagnosis, one test result, one word to change our lives, to shake our ground, to remind us that life itself is uncertain. There were times when I cried out to God from fear and helplessness, living with the question of what would come next. There were times when I felt so lonely, distant from God, distant from those around me, and sometimes even distant from my mother, not knowing what words I could possibly say to make anything better. And if I felt this kind of fear and loneliness, I can only imagine what my mother felt. how I prayed I could take it all away. And I remember how life felt so uncertain while the world around us just kept on going. I wondered, would anyone stop to be there for us? Would anyone notice the fear in our eyes and our hearts? Would anyone reach out a hand or lend a hug? The worst part was that the person who I always turned to for strength and support was the person who now needed it the most. While I did not know what would happen next, I was certain about a few things. I knew I needed to find an inner strength I had never used before. I knew I needed God to help me through. I knew I would need some extra hugs. And I knew and know that I love my mother more than anything in the world. Still, for months, we lived with the great awareness of life's uncertainty. Surgery after surgery, radioactive iodine, and isolation. But cancer is not the only disease that brings about this awareness. Presently, in our own congregation, there are many of us facing hardships of all kinds, whether of the mind, body, or soul. There's heart disease, mental illness and mental disorders, substance abuse, domestic violence, and broken hearts. There's unspeakable darkness that we are too afraid to share, but that so many of us are not alone in experiencing. And even if we may not be directly affected by these hardships, all of us are affected by the uncertainty of life. So how do we live with these challenges, with the unknown of what may come, with the uncertainty of our book of life? On Rosh Hashanah, a poignant prayer known as Unetaneh Tokef speaks about life's uncertainty and just may provide the answers we are looking for. This prayer is often criticized by many rabbis and scholars as being harsh, but it approaches life with a realistic perspective. It reads, "On Rosh Hashanah this is written, on Yom Kippur this is sealed. How many will pass away from this world? How many will be born into it? Who will live and who will die? Who will reach the ripeness of age? Who will be taken before their time? Who will rest and who will wander? Who will be tranquil and who will be troubled? Who will be calm and who tormented? Who will live in poverty and who in prosperity? Who will be humbled and who exalted?" But then, at the end of this prayer, we find what just may be an answer for how to approach this uncertainty of life. Listen. U'teshuva, u'tefila, u'tzedakah. Through teshuva, tefillah, and tzedakah, through introspection, through prayer, and through righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of life's decree. We see that in the very same prayer that makes us confront our mortality, that reminds us of all that is beyond our control, we are presented with three things we do have control over. Three relationships we can strengthen to be able to respond better to the uncertainty of life. U'teshuva. The first answer we are given is teshuva. This is the work we must do to strengthen the relationship we have with ourselves. Teshuva is most commonly defined as repentance, but the root of the word shuv means return. We are prompted to return back to our best selves and return to divine ways. We are prompted to return to our memories from the past year, to flip through the pages of our books of life and search for areas of improvement. Teshuva is the introspection we must do, not just during our days of awe, but continually if we want to always better ourselves. In the book, The Road to Character, author David Brooks describes the difference between resume virtues and eulogy virtues. He explains, the resume virtues are the ones you list on your resume, the skills that you bring to the job market and that contribute to external success. The eulogy virtues are deeper. They're the virtues that get talked about at your funeral, the ones that exist at the core of your being, whether you are kind, brave, honest, or faithful, what kind of relationships you formed. Rosh Hashanah provides us with the strategies for developing our eulogy virtues, our character. This is what Teshuvah is all about. For if we do not work on ourselves, how can we expect to rely on ourselves during trials and tribulations? How can we expect others to rely on us and for us to be there for others? Like our lives, our books have ambiguity. Like our lives, our books are about not knowing and having to change. With Teshuvah, we are prompted to change. Uteshuvah, utefillah. The second answer we are given for facing life's uncertainties is tefillah, prayer. Tefillah can be considered as the prayers of the heart or the prayers of our tradition. It can be considered as our praises and petitions. But at its core, tefillah is about the relationship between us and God. If we strengthen this relationship, we can have a source of strength and faith to draw upon at any time. But this relationship is not so simple. Do you ever wonder why during harder times some people turn away from God in anger, while others turn towards God for comfort? Suffering may be one of the most common experiences that causes us to question our faith. Tefillah, prayer, does not come easily to everyone. Our relationship with God must be developed just like any other relationship. For many, Jewish notions of God do not work because we grow up learning that God is omnipotent, all-powerful. And so when unexplainable hardships befall us, we are left to blame no one but God. But what if I told you that there is a different way to understand God's power in our lives? Allow me to share with you a theology that I have learned in my rabbinical studies called process theology. Process theology explains that God's nature is still developing and advancing. Philosopher Hartshorne says that this is not a sign of weakness, but a sign that God can continually become what humanity needs. This logic requires it to be perfect. God must be forever growing, forever potential. It is as if God's ability to evolve into something better than before is the ultimate characteristic of being divine. Just as we are continually growing, changing, healing, and becoming, so is God. This theory allows us to find comfort in knowing that God is with us in life's uncertainties. Like our lives, our books have ambiguity. Like our lives, our books are about not knowing and having to change. With tefillah, we can go through change with God. Uteshuvah, utefillah, utzedakah. The third answer we are given for facing life's uncertainties is tzedakah. Most often thought of as the giving of money, tzedakah is also the giving of the heart. Stemming from the root tzedek, meaning justice or righteousness, tzedakah is about making the world a bit better, a bit more in order. Tzedakah is about the relationship between ourselves and others. In the best-selling book, When Bad Things Happen to Good People, Rabbi Harold Kushner reveals how essential tzedakah is to Judaism through the work of sociologist Emil Durkheim. The grandson of an Orthodox rabbi, Durkheim was interested in what religion looked like before it was formalized with prayer books and clergy. In 1912, he wrote that the primary purpose of religion at its earliest level was not to put people in touch with God, but to put them in touch with one another. Religious rituals taught people how to share with their neighbors the experiences of birth and bereavement, of children marrying and parents dying. In that way, the community would be able to share the most joyous and the most frightening moments of life. No one would have to face them alone. As a community, we are usually very good at being there for one another during major life cycle events. But what about during the times following them? Do we truly know how to be in community with one another? It is not about knowing the proper words to say. It is about showing up, being present, and letting one another know that we are there. We are here. We must not assume that the one beside us already has support. So I ask myself, what more can we do to be there for one another? With no words to completely erase fear or remove pain, we must continue loving the ailing one through every step of the way. We must continue showing support. This is the core of tzedakah. It is seeing the humanity of each individual and making sure the highest of needs are met. It is making sure no one has to face life's hardships alone. In the book Where Healing Resides, there is a prayer that can be interpreted in many ways. It relates to teshuvah, the reaching within for strength, tefillah, the reaching towards God, and tzedakah, the reaching towards one another. And while I share this prayer with you, if you feel so moved, feel free to act upon its words. When all seems dark and the darkness is harsh, take my hand. When I cannot see light even in the brightest day, give me your hand. When I am tired and every breath is heavy, take my hand. When my words do not grasp the depth of yearning in my soul, give me your hand. When my feelings are overwhelming or dulled, take my hand. When I am confused and don't know what to do, give me your hand. So that we may be together, take my hand. Like our lives, our books have ambiguity. Like our lives, our books are about not knowing and having to change. With tzedakah, we do not have to be alone. Tonight, I share my story so that others can know they are not fully alone in their experiences. I share my story so that we can all gain greater awareness of life's fragility. I share my story so that in this new year, together, we can better ensure that no one has to face life's uncertainties alone. Now, to bring you up to date on my book of life, during my mother's treatment, there was a time I felt helpless. It was then that one of my own rabbis told me, just continue loving her. Such a simple action for any loved one, but an action we can often forget when we begin searching for answers and solutions. With teshuvah, I connected to an inner strength within. I was able to rely on myself and be a source of strength for my mother. I was able to love her through each step of her treatment. With tefillah, I connected to God at a time of uncertainty. I was able to recognize that God was with me, even if I did not have all of the answers. With tzedakah, the rabbi and cantor from my home synagogue made sure my mother had what she needed. My mother, who is a nurse and helps everyone around her, had a lot of trouble asking and accepting help. I learned that the need for support extends far beyond the initial shock of our struggles, and that we need to be more mindful of our offers of support. Most of all, I am blessed to say that my mother is doing well and is here this evening. As we face the new year, unsure of what will be written in our books of life, unsure of the chapter to come, Judaism provides us with 3 relationships we can strengthen to better respond to the uncertainty of life. When our minds begin to drift from services and we begin to count how many pages are left, don't worry, we all do it. Let us use this time to do teshuvah, to think about what eulogy traits we would like to strengthen. When the words of our prayer book do not speak to us, let us use this time to talk to our God who understands us. And at any moment, let us partake in tzedakah by letting those around us know that we are in this life together, taking the hand of the person beside us and being thankful for the moment shared. In our books of life, what will we write next? Shana Tova.
We return to our prayer book on page 75. When you reach the page, please rise. We haven't forgotten Avinu Malkeinu, though we've overthrown kings and we disobey fathers, and we have no great liking for absolute power. Akiva stood before you in a time of drought, and his words went up like a flame on the altar. Avinu Malkeinu, you alone are our ruler. Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion for us. He was humble and forgiving, so his prayer was answered. Tonight we speak again in a time of drought. Dry ground beneath us, no water, only rock. Not a hunger for bread or a thirst of water, but hearts that are longing to hear God's voice. For the sea of faith is all but gone. The tide's gone out on the empty beach. The world mocks our hopes and life tests our courage. Why do the wicked live on and prosper? Why are you silent when they prey on the innocent? And if your dominion is kindness and justice, why is creation in so much pain? Avinu Malkeinu, sustain our souls. Send rain to our roots. Help us find a way to pray. Make us humble and forgiving of ourselves and one another. Avinu Malkeinu, renew these words. Help us speak them with conviction and believe their truth. 100 generations have stood before the ark, and they lifted up their voices like flame on the altar, and they put their trust in kindness and justice, and they gave their strength to make the promise real. Avinu Malkeinu, we haven't forgotten. Avinu Malkeinu, bring us back to you. Avinu Malkeinu, ein lanu melech ela ata. Together in the English. Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, you alone are our sovereign. Avinu Malkeinu, lemancha rachem aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, for your sake show us mercy. Avinu Malkeinu, aseh imanu lema'an shemecha. Avinu Malkeinu, act towards us as befits your name. Avinu Malkeinu, shalach refuah shlema lechole amecha. Avinu Malkeinu, bring healing and wholeness to the ill among us. Avinu Malkeinu, kra ro'ah gazar dinenu. Avinu Malkeinu, allay the harshness of the decree against us. Avinu Malkeinu, kotvenu b'sefer ge'ula v'yushu'ah. Avinu Malkeinu, ascribe in us the book of redemption and renewal. Avinu Malkeinu Zochreinu B'zichron Tov Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, remember our goodness and call it to mind. Avinu Malkeinu, Aselem Anacha V'Hoshi'enu. Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake and save us. Avinu Malkeinu, Shma Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, hear our voice. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu V'al Olaleinu V'Tapenu. Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families. Avinu Malkeinu, Kalei Deber V'Chara V'Ra'am Aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger. Avinu Malkeinu, Kalei Kol Tsar Umastin Aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror. Avinu Malkeinu, Kodvenu B'Sefer Chayim Tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived. Avinu Malkeinu, Chadesh Aleinu Shana Tova. Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu V'Anenu Ki Ein Banu Ma'asim. Aseh Imanu Tzedakah V'Chesed V'Hoshi'enu. Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu Ve'al Olaleinu V'Tapenu. Avinu Malkeinu,
We remain standing as we continue on page 78, and we welcome Stu and Sarah to lead us in a reading.
Lift this cup for the year that is gone, for mountaintop moments and the taste of joy, celebrations shared, milestones met, all we've mastered and achieved since last we met. For wedding rings, tears, and kisses under the chuppah, new babies, first words and first steps, for the children who bless our homes and bring life to our community, for B'nai Mitzvah and confirmands, young teachers of this holy congregation, ours to cherish and guide with love.
For beloved wives and husbands, sisters and brothers, for loyal friends who grow more precious with each passing year, for this community which nourishes us all, for all we've learned, for all we've struggled through, for challenges surmounted and disappointments met with courage, for last moments shared with those we loved and lost, for parents and grandparents whose memories are with us forever, we lift this cup for the year that is gone, for the year that begins. May we meet it in strength, in unity, in hope. We lift life's cup and celebrate survival, so we may sanctify each day that is ours.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'am, ורוממנו מכל לשון, וקידשנו במצוותיו. ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה את יום הזיכרון הזה, יום תרועה מקרא קודש, טרם יציאת מצרים, כיוונו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ודברך אמת וקיים לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל ויום הזיכרון. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Amen.
We continue on page 82 with Aleinu.
Amen.
be seated as we continue on page 87. Death will come. Its hand will not be stayed even an instant, nor can we enter into judgment with it. Our question why will go unanswered. But this does not mean that we are helpless in the face of death. We can and we do rob death of ultimate victory by living life as long as it is ours to live. To ask of death that it never come is futile, but it is not futility to pray that when death comes for us, it may take us from a world one corner of which is a little better because we were there. When we are dead, and people weep for us and grieve, let it be because we touched their lives with beauty and simplicity. Let it not be said that life was good to us, but rather that we were good to life. Tonight, as a community, we commemorate the yard sites, the anniversaries of the passing of Albert Bryn, Bertha Barron, Bunny Kerwin, Ethel Lerner Stromberg, Harold Stern, Jacob Baum, Milton Stanley Isaacson, Pauline Spector, Sylvia Zimov, and Harris Sutter. If you'd like to contribute to the list of people we're remembering, please share those names now. If you are in mourning or commemorating yard sites, please rise first. We acknowledge you and we mourn along with you. As we rise together as a community of comfort for all those we mentioned out loud, those we hold in our hearts, and for all those who have no one to say Kaddish for them, as we continue with our words of comfort on page 90, Kaddish Yatom. Yitkadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma yivrach yiriteh v'yamlich machuteh, v'chayachon v'yom achon v'chayeh dechove Yisrael, v'agalau v'zman kari v'imru, Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam omei omaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitfa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitzadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei kedusha, La'ela u'leila min kol birchata v'shir'ata, tushbechata v'nechamata, ta'amiram be'alma v'imru. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Oseh shalom bimromav,
May the source of peace bestow peace upon all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved. And together we say, Amen. Please be seated. As we conclude our service, I thank all of you who participated in today's worship. Thank you to our readers, to Julie, and to Ali. Thank you especially to Ali, our Rabbinic Fellow, for your energy in building dynamic family programs for our children tomorrow morning. And today, for your powerful words of wisdom in your sermon and presence on this bima. Thank you to Bob Zeke for ensuring that our services are accessible to individuals across the globe who are interested in a welcoming and worship service. Thank you to Dr. Mark Bailey and your amazing choir for lifting our spirits with their soulful singing. Thank you to Nat Shakin for your cello, and to Dr. Jonathan Stinson for sharing your exquisite voice with us. Thank you to Denny Reed Miller and all the ushers who volunteered throughout the high holiday season for welcoming us and keeping us safe. Thank you to Tom Glassman, President of Temple Shalom, for your hard work in leading our community. Thank you to our steering committee, our board of trustees, and all those of you here who serve on committees to help build the holiness in our Shalom community. Thank you to the incredible Temple Shalom staff, Jenny Costello, Julie Solomon, Lindsay Danziger, and Faina Godkin for ensuring that tonight runs smoothly for all of us. It's not easy to coordinate a high holiday season, let alone services off-site. Thank you for your grace, commitment to our community, and for always going the extra mile, and for transforming this space into a synagogue for us tonight. Thank you to all of us here who contribute financially to Temple Sholom. It is you who keep our lights on, like today, and make possible sustain our community. If you're not a member of Temple Sholom or would like to learn more about being part of our community, or if you're already a member and would like to know more ways that you could become active, please check in at our welcoming table in the foyer. Please remember to return your machzorim, your prayer books, to the front desk as you leave today. And thank you to our armed forces stationed all over this world who are praying with us this evening, to our police officers both locally and nationally, and to our emergency personnel for keeping us safe. Thank you to all of us and all of you here who joined us today in prayer and song. We're going to conclude on page 98 with a special blessing of the new year, and this is responsive, so shout it out, it's important. Our God and God of all generations before us, may it be your will in the coming year to grant us a year of abundance and atonement, a year of blessings bestowed and received, a year of community and compassion, a year of delight and exaltation, a year of enlightenment, a year of friendship and forgiveness, a year of going up in gladness to the land of Israel, a year of health and healing and humor, a year of inner strength and well-being, a year of joy and Jewish celebration, a year of knowledge and learning for its own sake, a year of love between parents and children, friends and spouses, brothers and sisters, a year of mitzvot and moments of sweetness, a year of nature protected and enjoyed, a year of optimism and hope, a year of peace pursued with perseverance, a year of quiet and tranquility, a year of rain in its season, a year of song and spiritual growth, a year of Torah study and tikkun olam, a year of understanding and unity, a year of vows fulfilled and violence overcome, a year of wisdom acquired and shared, a year of coexistence among the families of the earth, a year of young and old reaching out to one another, a year of Zion aglow with a light for us and all the world. Our God and God of the generations before us, grant us a year of gratitude to you for the most profound of blessings, your gift of life. We will conclude on page 96. We're going to go back with Yigdal. And you're going to do verses 1 and 7.
יגדל אלוהים חי וישתבח, ימצא וידע מציאותו, אחד בן יחיד וייחודו, אלם וגם את זאת ברכתו. חיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ברוך ה' שם תהילתו. חיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ברוך אתה שם תהילתו.
And before we conclude, if you can connect to one another to receive a blessing, if you don't feel like it, that's okay too. And if you're online, you can just put your hands out. May God bless you and keep you. May Adonai's light shine upon you, be gracious unto you. When God's light shines upon you, may it bring you strength and grace to go out and make this world a better place, because each of you are in it. And together we say, Shana Tova. See you tomorrow at 10:30 in the morning.